starting the recording. Martha,
Yes.
for those of us who did not get the list of what we needed, I'm just lucky to be on, period. I had already brewed myself a cup of raspberry scripture tea and have a scone, and I'm just sitting here, and I went and got my other 2 tea bags and a pair of scissors. So I'll probably be a spectator and a tea drinker.
Fine. That's fine. Just enjoy your tea as we proceed.
Okay. And I'm going to welcome everybody. This is Nancy Regal, and I'm not going to be here very much, but I am supposedly the moderator of this session, and I'm really delighted. At this point, looks like there are 43 of us, and they keep coming in, which is wonderful. So I'm going to say welcome, everyone. You are in Martha Isenberg's Tea and Mindfulness meditation. And I'd like to introduce Martha, who is the president of the Yadkin Valley District and just an all-round wonderful United Methodist Women. Thank you, Martha, for doing this. We look forward to tea and mindfulness with you.
Thank you so much, Nancy. And thanks to all of you for joining this morning. I appreciate your taking the time to be here. I hope you've enjoyed what we've had so far. I think we've had some 2 wonderful sessions now. But right now, we're going to change focus just a little bit, and we're going to have fun this morning with tea, and also with learning more about mindfulness and how we can put tea and mindfulness meditation together to make a very good calming way to meditate and to pray. For some people, tea is just a hot drink, but it can be used in mindfulness meditation. And tea time can be a really special time of day to stop and to breathe and to just look around you and take some time for yourself. Sometimes we don't do very much of that, something that we need to do more of. We are going to be learning a little bit more this morning about tea and how it is very beneficial to our bodies. And we'll also be learning more about the mindfulness meditation, what it is, how we can do it with tea. And then once we do a little of that, we're going to actually practice a tea and mindfulness meditation. We'll do it first with a green tea, and then we'll do it with a black tea. And I'll be walking you through the steps of making the tea, drinking the tea mindfully. While you're enjoying that cup of tea, did you realize that you're really doing something good for your body? You're taking in lots of good antioxidants, lots of minerals, vitamins, and more. And you can have prayer time and meditation. It can be enhanced by enjoying that cup of tea. You might want to consider making this a morning ritual, or maybe it would suit in your life for mid-afternoon, or maybe even an evening ritual. Do what time of day works best for you. It's all about choosing to do something rather than having to do something. It's time for you. And there are actually 3 ways that tea can really make a profound difference in your life. And the first one relates to tea and anxiety. Tea has a calming effect. And if you think about monks who drank tea traditionally, and they still do, they would meditate for like 5-6 hours a day or more. And they had to do something that kept them calm yet alert. So why does tea make us calm? Well, it has in it actually an amino acid that's called L-theanine. And when you combine the L-theanine with the caffeine that's in the tea, your body starts producing more of 2 chemicals, dopamine and serotonin. And both of these tend to give you a calm, peaceful feeling, also a happy feeling. So you feel happy when you drink tea. A second thing that tea does for us, it helps us, some teas help us to sleep better. And with this, I'm really referring to herbal teas here, not the true teas from Camellia sinensis, but herbal teas or herbal infusions or tisanes, maybe we should say. And sleep deprivation really is no joke. If you look at the people in our country, especially over the past 15 months or so, I bet some of you could say you're not sleeping as good as usual. And studies have found that if you have constant or frequent insomnia, that you have 5 times the risk of developing depression. And if you have a lot of insomnia, you also have 20 times the risk of developing anxiety disorders. So herbal teas can be a real benefit here if you use them consistently before bedtime. And I'll be honest, I do quite often, almost every night, make a pot of some type of rooibos, which is an herb from South Africa that has a very calming, soothing effect. But there are many more herbals like chamomile, peppermint. Lots of these herbal teas are very, very relaxing. They have no caffeine. And a third thing that tea can do to make a profound difference in your life, it helps in many aspects with all areas of our health. You may have heard the saying that an apple a day can keep the doctor away. Well, I think we could also say that a cup of tea may also help keep the doctor away. Was reading a recent study in the European Journal of Cardiology, and it found that drinking tea at least 3 times a week, and that's not much, just 3 times a week, and they were looking at hot tea, not iced tea, but they found that it could lead to a longer and healthier life. Compared to people who never drank tea or who were non-habitual tea drinkers, they had actually a 20% lower risk of heart disease and stroke, and a 22% lower risk of fatal heart disease and stroke. And that's really significant, especially considering that we live here in the stroke belt. And there was a 15% decreased risk of all causes of disease if you were a habitual tea drinker. If you want to know more about tea and health, you can go online and Google tea and health and find all kinds of information there. Just be sure you're looking at a reputable source. A few years ago, there was a 5th International Symposium on Tea and Health held, and there's lots of amazing data there. They were looking at over 2,000 studies on tea and health. So it's a good, healthy thing to do. I'd like to share a quote from Winnie the Pooh, which a book I'm sure you're all familiar with. And Piglet was talking here. He said to Christopher Robin, "Come inside and let's see if a pot of tea can make the world a better place." And I do believe that a pot of tea can make the world a better place. I hope you'll think that way too. So let's think now a little bit about mindfulness meditation. What is mindfulness meditation? Well, mindfulness is a type of meditation in which you're focusing on being intensely aware of what you're sensing and what you're feeling just in that moment, without any interpretation and without making any judgments, pro or con. You're just being non-judgmental. It's the ability to be fully present and aware of what you're doing and not be overly reactive or overwhelmed by what's going on around you, or by listening to the constant brain chatter that we all get, or thoughts that you might be having just passing through. And I bet you all know what I mean by brain chatter, because I bet there's a lot going on right now. We're humans and we do have brain chatter. Simply, it means thoughts that you're thinking, like right now you're probably thinking, what is my next session? Or what am I going to eat for lunch? Here it's almost getting close to lunchtime. What am I going to eat for lunch? Or what am I going to feed my family tonight for dinner? This is what we call brain chatter. But when you're being mindful, you let the chatter just kind of flow through. You don't stop and focus on it. You keep your focus on tea is what we're going to do. We're focusing on the tea today. Now, virtually every spiritual tradition does have practices for mindful contemplation and silence. If you think about our church services, there's always some silent time there, silent prayer, silent contemplation. And mindfulness does have its origins about 5,000 years ago, back to the time of the Chinese monks. Tea was actually first used and discovered about 5,000, a little over 5,000 years ago. And it was the Chinese monks who latched on to the tea And they found that it helped them to stay calm yet alert for all those hours of meditation. And the Chinese people started exploring around, I'm not sure what year that was, but they started sailing their ships and they found Japan, and they carried tea seeds and also tea plants to Japan. And Japan became an island of a lot of tea drinkers, as you know. And it was around the year 1100 AD that the Zen monks started using tea for their meditation. And they really latched onto it to stay calm yet alert for all those hours of meditation. And also in Japan, it led to the Japanese tea ceremony. I don't know if any of you have ever been to a Japanese tea ceremony. It's a wonderful thing to attend. They can go from as short as an hour to 3 or even 4 hours, but it's a way of doing everything exactly in this prescribed manner, thinking about tea. So it is a way of mindfulness meditation with tea. And you might wonder, can coffee be used for mindfulness meditation? Well, yes, I guess it can, but coffee is absorbed very differently into our systems. Unlike tea, coffee gives you a very quick buzz, and then you have to drink another cup of coffee pretty soon. You just want to keep drinking more coffee. Tea gives you that calming effect. It's absorbed into our system much slower than the cup of coffee, and it gives us that long-lasting calming effect. It keeps us alert. Well, research has also shown, I told you about research with tea and health, but research also shows that practicing meditation on a regular basis can be very beneficial and very therapeutic for our bodies. I want to share some of the things that it can do. It can help reduce stress and anxiety, just as tea can. It can help reduce depression. It can improve our sleep. And tea can also do this if you're using an herbal tea. It can improve our mental health. It can even help us make smarter decisions. That's something we all need. It may even help cut down on migraine headaches. I've never had migraines, so I'm not sure of that personally, but that's what the research shows. It may help us embrace our current health status and be more accepting of any physical limitations that we have. And you can reap these benefits just by meditating, doing mindfulness meditation for at least about 15 minutes a day, maybe up to 30 minutes a day. The main thing is do it with consistency. Don't just do it maybe once a week. You need to do it preferably every day, or at least the majority of the days during the week. Well, let's look at how to do a tea and mindfulness meditation. The first thing you want to do is to eliminate all distractions. So I hope you have your cell phone turned off, your TV turned off, your radio turned off. You're in a quiet area where you can really focus on what we're going to be doing. And now it's time to participate with your tea. The first thing that you're going to do is to choose the type of tea that you're going to be using. And I guess hopefully everybody has done that. If you haven't, there's still time to get your tea. I have chosen a tea today, a green tea called Me Time, with the word thyme, the herbal thyme, because it has thyme in it. And this one has 20 milligrams of caffeine. And for the black tea, I chose a Mandarin Bergamot Rose black tea. It has about 40 milligrams of caffeine in a cup. The reason I chose both of these with caffeine is because this is morning. So with morning, most people can take some caffeine. If you're doing this at nighttime, I would suggest using an herbal tea with no caffeine, so it's not going to interfere with your sleep. Do it also according to your mood as to what type of tea you choose. The second thing you'll need to choose, and hopefully you have, is your cup. And I'm going to just quickly show you the cups that I have selected. This first one is a cup that is actually made from silt from the Dead Sea. My niece that lives or has been living for the past 2.5 years in the United Arab Emirates and working at the U.S. Embassy there sent that to me as a gift. So that one has some real special meaning. But choose a cup that has special meaning. The second cup that I chose, I'll show you the saucer and the cup. And this is one that belonged to one of my aunts that I took care of for many, many years. She never had children and moved here to Arbor Acres, and I helped her during the last few years of her life, and she loved tea and had a collection of teacups. So I've selected that one with a special memory, but choose a cup that has just means something special to you. I think it means more if you do that. The next thing that you're going to want to do is to heat your water. So I am going to step away just a second, and you can step away, turn on your whatever you're making, you're heating your water in, and let's let it get hot. Then I'm going to come right back and we're going to measure the tea while that water is heating. It'll take it just a few moments. Hopefully most of you are back now. Just let your water, you want it to come to a boil. Now for black teas, you do want to use boiling water. For the green tea, you really don't want to use boiling water. You want water that's about 160 to 170 degrees Fahrenheit. If you use boiling water in green tea and also oolong, it actually almost scorches the tea and you lose a lot of that good flavor. So the next thing, while our water is heating, let's go ahead and measure out our leaf. If you're using loose leaf tea, you want a 1 teaspoon, 1 level teaspoon. If you want your tea stronger, use just a slightly heaping teaspoon. I'm going to put this into my filter basket. I've just chosen a little filter basket here that has a lid to keep on it as it steeps. So that's the green tea, and you can go ahead and measure out your black tea. And I am preparing a paper tea filter with the black tea. It's just a little paper filter that you can use if you're using loose leaf tea. It has a cut edge at the top, a pleat at the bottom. Make sure the tea gets all the way down to the bottom of the pleat if you're using something like this. There are many, many different types of infusers that you can use. So very quick and easy. That's all you have to do to prepare your filters. Okay, our water is not quite ready, but it's getting close. Can you hear your water starting to boil? I can hear mine over there. And that's part of this whole mindfulness process. You're using your sense of hearing to listen to the things around you. Okay, another important part of being mindful and present in the whole situation when you're making tea is sitting in a comfortable position. Hopefully everybody has a comfortable chair you're sitting in. I want you to get comfortable. Some of you may even want to, when you do this later, some people like to use like the yoga cross-legged position to drink their tea mindfully, and this is fine if you'd like to do that. But get seated in your comfortable position. My water is almost boiling over there. I hate to start something else. While we're waiting, is there anybody that would like to share your teacup? Would you like to hold, does your teacup have a special memory you'd like to share? Let's just have one person do that.
Is there anybody?
Anybody?
If you can hear me or see me, my name is Sylvia Casey. I'm from the Metro District. I'm holding up a teacup that came from my mother-in-law who passed in 1980. And I just enjoyed, this was a part of her china set.
Oh, okay.
And it just has special meaning to me, and I hope one day to pass it on to my own daughter.
Right. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you. Well, that's what I was trying to get at. Cups, teacups, and tea mugs do have special memories. Some of them do. So thank you for sharing that beautiful one that has those memories of your mother. Thank you. Okay, I just heard my kettle turn off over here. I'm going to step over and get it. And yours is probably about ready now too. What I'm going to do, let me go get it first. Okay, I have my teacup or tea mug. I put the filter in. I'm first going to do it in the black tea. You'll do black first because we're going to time this for 4.5 minutes, and I will tell you when to put the green tea in. So do your black tea first. Pour the water in. And that's going to give time for the water to cool down from boiling. I'm going to start the timer for 4.5 minutes. And when that gets to about 3 minutes, I will let everybody know, and you can put your green tea in at that point. But this is timing for black tea right now. If you're using a tea bag or a little filter like I've got here, you don't have to keep dunking it. Just let the end hang out like the string on the tea bag and let it infuse. Now, as we're waiting on that to infuse, let's think about breathing. Breathing is something that can really relax us if you do deep breathing by taking what I call belly breaths. Most of us breathe rather shallowly, but when you use belly breaths or diaphragmatic breathing, you're using your diaphragm, which is that big muscle that runs right at the base of your lungs. I'd like everybody to put your hand on your chest, put one hand on your chest, and put one hand on your stomach, and just breathe a bit normally. You're probably noticing that the hand on the chest is going out more than the hand on the stomach. Now, I'd like you to try breathing really deep and make the hand on the stomach go up. When you do that, it's fully engaging your stomach and your abdominal muscles, and it really helps your lungs fill up completely. Okay, let's stop from the breath just a second, and you can pour the water onto your green tea now. I have my infuser basket in here. We're going to pour it onto the green tea. And we're going to let it infuse there. Green tea only has to infuse 2 to 3 minutes, so that should be fine. Our timer right now is at 2 minutes and 16 seconds, so I'll let you know when the time is up. But there's some things that the diaphragmatic breathing does for us. It also promotes relaxation. It slows our breathing rate down. It can lower our heart rate a little bit, and also can lower our blood pressure just a little bit. It's really good to practice the deep breathing at least 5 minutes a day, several times a day if you can. It really helps you relax. It's always good to do it before bedtime. Again, it just helps you to get to sleep faster. So let's practice that. Put your one hand on your chest, one on your stomach. I want you to close your eyes. Just close your eyes and let's breathe some deep breaths. We'll just do this until the little timer goes off. We'll hear that in just a minute. As you're doing this, just think about the breath. Think about the breath coming in, the oxygen that it's taking into your body. The oxygen is getting out to all the cells in your body, all the way down to the ends of your toes, tips of your toes, to your fingertips. It's coming in through the breath. Just breathe. If you're getting some of that brain chatter, just let those thoughts come right through and go out the other side of your brain. Just breathe. That's all we're doing right now. We're relaxing. We're getting deep, cleansing breaths into our body. We're being mindful, thinking just of the breath right now. Just keep your eyes closed and continue to breathe. Just relax. Okay, ladies, you can stop the deep breathing for a moment. And that was our timer that went off. So now it's time to take the tea filters or infusers or your tea bag out of your tea. And what you need to do is just to dunk it 2 or 3 times in your tea and then touch it against the side of your cup. You don't really want to take a spoon and mash it at this point, because if you do, you'll be extracting tannic acid, which tends to make, or it does make your tea bitter. So do that first in your black tea, then take your green tea. You want to dip your infuser or your bag 2 or 3 times and then let it drain. And if you're using an infuser like this, you're definitely, there's no way to squeeze it, so you're not getting any extra tannic acid. Okay, is everybody coming along with your tea, hopefully? Okay, so now we have made a cup of black tea and a cup of green tea. Now, in many cultures around the world, the tea ceremony has really been revered and practiced by being present in the moment with every step. I don't think we've done that as much here in the United States until recent years. But if you do ever have a chance to participate in that Japanese or a Chinese tea ceremony, please do so. When you do this, you want to use all your senses as you proceed with the making and the drinking of the tea. Try not to concentrate on anything that's going on outside, but just be mindful and think of what's happening right here with your cup of tea that you're making and getting prepared to drink. So let's think about those 5 senses before we start actually tasting and drinking this tea. It's too hot to drink right now. It needs to sit for a few minutes, and we'll start thinking about these senses, and then we'll start sampling the tea. The first one I think about is the sense of sight. Did you realize that 80% of our reality comes from what we see, not from other senses, but from what we see? And with tea, there's many things that you can observe. I'm going to get my little container of green tea and just hold it up so you can see the many different ingredients in it. I want you to look at your tea. Now, what my tea has in it, it has the green tea, of course, but it also has pieces of apple and orange peel and some pieces of dried beetroot, rose hips, even some strawberries and raspberries and pineapple, rhubarb, apricots, and the herb thyme. So a lot of good, healthy ingredients. But look at your tea. See, can you identify those different pieces? Here's a piece of orange peel. I can see.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. My whole thing was I was just thinking about the limited part.
Hopefully you're seeing all those ingredients. If you do have your microphone off, if you could turn it off, please. I think we're getting some. Okay. If you can keep your microphones off while we're doing this, I think it will help with our sound quality. Thank you. So look at your tea, use that sense of sight. Look at your cup, examine it carefully. I'm looking at my cup. Notice the colors of the cup, the outside and the inside. Notice the patterns on the cup. But look at your cup as you do this, just being mindful of the colors of your cup, the design in your cup. And notice how that tea is changing, has changed colors. We started out with clear water, and then we added the tea to it and let it steep and infuse. Notice that the color is very different now than that color of clear water. Now, if any of you would like to add sugar or honey to your tea, please feel free to do that. If you add milk, you may want to add milk to your black tea. Generally, we don't add milk to green tea because it's a little heavy for it. But go ahead and add that now. And if you do, notice how that changes the color and the character of the tea. Okay, let's move to sense of smell now. Smell is another very powerful sense, maybe not quite as strong as sight, but a very, very powerful sense. And in doing some reading, I saw that we have about 1 trillion different smells that we can identify. Smell can even let you do what I call armchair travel. It can bring back memories. For example, the black tea that I'm using has some rose petals in it. And every time I drink that, it reminds me of beautiful rose gardens I've been to, like Renolda Gardens. I was there several weeks ago when the roses were blooming. Lake Junaluska right now, it can remind us all those beautiful flowers, the roses on the rose walk. We're not there, but it really transforms us to there if we can remember that because of an ingredient like the rose petals or rose buds in the tea. Okay, with the tea leaf in your hand or in the small bowl, I want you just to put it right up to your nose and really close your eyes and smell that tea. See if you can identify, pick out the ingredients you're smelling. You may not be able to pick out 1 trillion because it doesn't have that many in it, but it has a lot of ingredients, most likely if you're using a tea blend. But just smell it. Take in some really deep breaths as you're smelling it. Are you noticing fruity odors in your tea? I've got a lot of fruity odors in this one. Are you smelling spicy odors? I really can even identify that thyme very faintly. Does it invoke a memory of some type? I would like you in the chat box, if the tea that you're smelling right now does invoke a memory, would you share that in the chat box? Okay, let's move to our sense of hearing. I would like you to close your eyes and just listen to what is going on around you right now. Just close your eyes. Don't be judgmental about what you're hearing. Just close your eyes and listen. We all heard our kettles boiling just a few moments ago. The main sound I'm hearing right at this moment is an antique clock that's ticking. It's been passed down in our family. I'm hearing this clock ticking, and that's very calming and soothing. If you have a favorite memory that you're hearing. Share that in chat. Someone is saying their peach in their tea brings me back. Whoops, I missed that. Brings her back to walking in a peach orchard in my youth. What a wonderful feeling. An Earl Grey tea, peaceful. Please feel free to add in any of these feelings that you're getting in the chat box. And just note as we go along what you are sensing or feeling. Okay, let's move to the sense of touch now. Everything in a tea tasting, the preparation and the drinking, has the opportunity for sense of touch. And maybe you'd never thought about that. Who's going to touch tea? Well, I would like you to get that green tea again, the dry that you haven't steeped. I want you to put your fingers in it. I want you to actually feel that tea. Feel the pieces of fruit, if there are pieces of fruit in your tea. Or if there are flower buds, flower petals in the tea. Feel the big leaves. Get the sensation of what tea feels like. Also, I want you to perhaps feel your tea filter. See what it feels like. Or if you're using a tea bag or a paper filter, feel it. Does it feel velvety or smooth? With your tea cup, it might be all the same texture, but this one is not. It's very interesting. This tan part is, I guess, what the dry silt of the Dead Sea looks like. That color and that texture. It's a rough texture and very different than the smooth texture here on the finished glazed surfaces. But feel it. See what it feels like. You're also feeling warmth as you touch your cup. Feel your body firmly grounded to the chair and feel your feet flat on the floor. You might tense up the muscles in your rear end a moment, just tense them up a moment, and then release and relax. Feel how that chair is really grounding you and holding you in this whole process. And now I'd like you to take up that cup of green tea. Hopefully now you can put your hand around it. When you can fully put both hands around your cup of tea and the cup is not too hot to hold, that means that it's time to drink that tea. I want you to touch your lip. Just don't drink it yet, but just touch it to the edge and just see what it feels like. Now go ahead and take just one sip and hold it in your mouth for a few seconds and then swallow it and notice what it feels like. As you take that sip of tea, and you can take another one or two, kind of follow the journey of the tea as it goes down through your throat, as it warms your throat, and see if you can feel the point at which it really becomes one with your body. So let's take another sip of tea. And now let's move to the sense of taste. This is another time when I want you to really put your hands around your cup, feel the warmth. If your cup is still too hot right now, you can hold it by the handle or we'll just wait a moment to drink it. But think about how your tea tastes. I want you to take one sip and hold it in your mouth about 30 seconds. And as you do that, just keep your eyes closed. Focus on the taste, the ingredients in the tea. Are you noticing sweetness or bitterness or smoothness? Try to identify all those ingredients. So let's do that together. Just take one sip, close your eyes, and think about that tea, how it tastes. And as you're doing this, just keep your mind on the tea. That brain chatter is coming along, just let it move on out. Keep up your deep breathing. Just feel calm and relaxed. Think about just this and sip that tea with intention. Don't worry about other things now. It's just you and the tea. So just enjoy the process of drinking this cup of tea. See some interesting comments in the chat. Tea reminds me of my maternal grandmother who would make tea for us to enjoy during our visits. What a special memory. So just continue drinking your tea now. Continue taking some deep cleansing breaths. And then it's good to always seal your mindfulness tea meditation with gratitude. I'd like you to think of 10 things that you're grateful for. Hopefully you have a piece of paper. Just jot them down on the piece of paper, some things that you are grateful for. You might express gratitude to yourself for showing up today. You've done a good thing for yourself. And you've done something healthy for your body. Be grateful for that. You might also show gratitude for the people who grew the tea that you're drinking, the people who harvested it, who was mostly women. Women are the main harvesters of tea when it's hand-picked. If it's tea bag tea, it's usually commercially harvested by machines. But if it's loose leaf tea, women are out there picking that tea leaf. So give thanks for these ladies. Give thanks for the people who packaged the tea. Be grateful that we have clean drinking water to make our tea with, because many, many people in the world do not have this. You heard yesterday in our mission focus, it was on Liberia, the Water for Life program, where our mission dollars are helping the people in Liberia to have clean water that they can drink and make tea with. You may also want to be grateful for this moment of solitude. This can also be a good time for prayer. So I'm going to give you just a moment to finish jotting down those 10 things. If you'd like, you can even put some that you're grateful for in the chat. See, somebody's commented on adding milk to tea. If you've never done that, milk is very good to add to black tea. It's also good to add to some herbals, especially rooibos. Someone said they have been on a trip to China and they took part in a tea ceremony. Each step was very intentional and very moving. Yes, the Chinese and the Japanese tea ceremonies are very intentional, very mindful. Okay, let's go back now and drink our second cup of tea, the black tea. Now that you kind of see what the process is, let's drink this mindfully. And first of all, look at the color of the tea. Look at the appearance, the color, the shape. You can see the different ingredients, dried fruits. The tea that I have here has dried apple, carrot flakes, mandarin orange, and orange peel, blackberry leaves, lemongrass. This one is the one with rose petals. It also has bergamot oil that we can't see, but it's infused in these black leaves here. I want to compare that to a tea bag tea. This is the tea bag tea. Notice it's a very fine, almost powder-like. The grade of tea that's used in tea bags is called fannings or dust. And so it truly is a powder or dust-like. Looks very different than a loose leaf tea would look. Hopefully you can see that. And if you've not used to drinking the loose leaf tea, I challenge you to try some. It does have a lot more flavor. It also has a lot more antioxidants in it than does a tea bag tea. I didn't tell you to cut open that tea bag, but at this point, that's where you need to cut open the tea bag to look at your black tea. Notice the color change in the infusion. Again, it came from the very clear water that we had to a pretty infusion. It might be a lighter color, but it's definitely a darker color than the green tea because the black tea has been fully oxidized and it will turn the leaves darker and blacker, so you get a darker infusion. Let's move from sense of sight to sense of smell. I want you to take that little dish of tea. You could put it in your hand if you prefer. Put it to your nose and just breathe in the tea. What are you sensing? What are you feeling? Are you detecting spicy odors, fruity ones, or floral ones? Just breathe in deeply. Again, it's just you and the tea. Try to keep your mind just on the tea. Is anybody denoting a smell here that brings back a memory, like that peach orchard or rose garden? If so, do add it in the chat. Now, sense of hearing, we've already heard the water boil. You might have heard your spoon clinking in your cup if you stirred in sugar or honey, or if you stirred in milk. You've heard the sound of swallowing that tea as we drank the green tea. So again, think of what you're sensing or feeling here. Then as we move to sense of touch, again, pick up your little container of tea and pick up some of those leaves. What does that feel like? Is it smooth, sharp? Pick up some pieces of fruit here. This is some dried fruit. Here's a piece of lemongrass that's in this tea. Just identify all those ingredients. See what they feel like. Again, it's a little different experience if you're trying to use a tea bag and feel and identify ingredients. A little more difficult because it's more of a powder. It's the fannings or dust. Now let's pick up our cup of black tea and just touch, don't drink it yet, but just touch it to your lips. You feel the warmth of the cup. You can actually wrap your hands around the cup. I really like to do that. I really prefer drinking it in a mug most of the time when I'm doing this, but wrap your hands around it. Feel that warmth. And this is wonderful to do in the wintertime because nothing warms you up like a cup of tea. And now if you'll take a sip and just hold it in your mouth. And swallow it. Feel it as it goes down your throat and really becomes one with your body. Feel all those sensations. It's going into your body to do some good things for you. And sense of taste, really let's concentrate now. If you will close your eyes, take another sip of the tea and hold it in your mouth about 30 seconds. Try to identify all the ingredients. And you can swallow your tea. Just think about the tea. It's just this. That's all you have to think about. Just sip your tea with intention. And now I know you're still sipping. Just continue enjoying sipping your tea. Feel free to make any comments here on the side about the process of what you're sensing and feeling. I'd like, with the paper, that hopefully you still have some paper and a pen. I would like, if you're right-handed, take your left hand and put it down on your sheet of paper and trace around your hand. Trace all 5 fingers, trace your hand. And once you have done that, on each of your fingers, I would like you to place or to write a word, something that you're thankful for, because we always should end a tea mindfulness meditation with being thankful. So just write 5 things down. I'm not going to challenge you to write 10 right now. I'll give you just a moment to do that and continue enjoying your tea as you do that. Thanks, Nancy. Yes, sip with intention. That's a good thing. If you'd like to put in the chat something that you're thankful for, please do that. And for best results with a tea mindfulness meditation, I think it really helps to do it at least daily if you can. You may want to do it more than once daily. Take several tea breaks during the day and do it mindfully if you would like, just according to your mood, to your mental, and to your physical needs. Thank you, Sonia. Thanks to God for granting us another day. We only have the present moment. Mindfulness is really important. It's in the present, but we are thankful to God for giving us every moment that we have. Thanks, Jamie. Thanks, Jean. I'd like to share a prayer, if you'll join me in closing with prayer. And I think it's always good to end tea meditations with being thankful and having a prayer. So would you please join me in this prayer? Lord, as we attend this virtual retreat today, calm our hearts, our minds, and our spirits. As we offer prayers to you, keep us mindful. As we interact with others, keep us kind in all our actions. Teach us to put into action our better impulses, straightforward and unafraid. May we find service and rest in you this day. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. Well, just continue drinking your tea. I'm going to open it up. Does anyone have questions now, or would you like to share some of the things that you were thinking or feeling, sensing as we did this? Surely someone has some questions.
And if you have a question, remember to unmute yourself.
Okay, somebody's asking what were some of the nighttime teas that you use? I would go with any herbal tea for night. Herbal teas do not have caffeine in them. A true tea, which is from Camellia sinensis, which is like our green tea, our white tea, oolong tea, and black tea. All of those have caffeine, but herbals do not have. One that I especially like at night is rooibos. It's an herb from South Africa, and it can come plain, or I like the flavored rooibos in many different flavors. Another excellent one for nighttime is chamomile. Our little company has a wonderful one called Peace Potion. It is a mixture of chamomile leaf and raspberry leaf and peppermint. I love that one for nighttime too. We also have one called Mindful Morning, which is an interesting blend. It has some mint in it. Anything with mint is also a nice calming tea. Thanks, Lynn. Yes, rooibos, R-O-O-I-B-U-S. It's pronounced kind of like the boy's name, Roy, and a school bus, rooibos, rooibos. Okay, are there other questions, or would anyone like to share their beautiful teacup and a memory?
Martha, this is Sandria. Can you, okay, this is my teacup
Oh, how interesting.
that I got from my sister-in-law, who helped to sort of raise my husband. He lived with her when he was in college, and I just treasure it. And one of the things I want to invite people to try is a nice hibiscus tea. Today is Juneteenth, and hibiscus is a red tea, and red drinks are really popular for Juneteenth. And if you'd like to know more, I invite you to our Juneteenth workshop.
Thank you, Sandria. I saw that in your handout with the hibiscus tea, and hibiscus tea is wonderful, and it's a very good beneficial tea. And actually, in addition to being calming and soothing, it will help reduce your blood pressure a little bit, the research shows. And thanks for sharing the beautiful cup.
So Martha, I see in the chat that there's a question about shelf life for loose teas, and then also a link to the company.
Okay. The shelf life for loose tea or tea bag tea is really the same. Tea likes to live in exactly the same conditions we do. It likes, a nice room temperature, not too hot, not too cold. So that's where you should keep it. You should not keep it right over your range because it gets too hot there. Black teas, once they are opened, should be used really within a year if they're stored in a nice, good, not real humid, not real hot, not real cold. Don't ever put it in the refrigerator or freezer. It can draw moisture and you don't want that. So about a year on black teas. The green teas don't last quite that long with really good flavor, usually more like about 8 months or so with good storage conditions. Okay.
Martha, this is Sandy again. When I went to China in 1995, I brought home a can of tea, of black tea, and it had been, I think it was oolong, but I'm not sure, but a nice black tea. And I decided I'm going to save this forever and just pinch on it every once in a while. It lasted with real good flavor in that airtight container, opening it every once in a while for about 5 years. After that, it became more and more like cardboard.
Okay. Yes, eventually it is going to reach that point. And I'll be honest, I have some teas that I've kept for well over that year or even 2 years on some of the blacks that still have good quality, but you're going to reach a point where the flavor does start to change. You start to lose the flavor and you're also losing some of the antioxidants. But the main thing is store it where it's not close to a lot of moisture. Don't store it over your range where you've got a lot of moisture and steam coming up from cooking.
Martha, Deborah Ray wants to know if there's a link to your company.
Okay, that actually was on the handout. You'll see it on the handout at the bottom. But let me
also just put your Facebook link in that.
Okay, yeah, I had the Facebook link and that on the handout. You'll find it there. If you do go to the company link, up at the top, you'll see there on the right-hand side, there is a blog. And if you want more information about tea and health, click on the tea articles there, and you can find more information on tea and health. If you want recipes, there's also a recipe section on that blog that you might be interested in. But you can drink tea hot, you can drink it iced, you can make things with it, lots of different tea drinks, tea smoothies. There's so much that you can drink or do with tea. You can even use it in cooking. You can use matcha, which is the powdered green tea, in many recipes, and cookies and ice cream. So lots of ways to use tea. But I do encourage you to use tea. Be mindful when you drink the tea. It is a way to meditate, and always finish that meditation with some things you're thankful for. We are blessed in this country. When we look around the world and look at the things that our United Methodist women do, we see so many people in many countries and here in the United States that are really struggling. So let's continue to support United Methodist women and remember them with our giving.
Martha.
Yes.
I drink from mugs almost always, and my mother's teacups are packed away. So I stopped at Goodwill this week and I bought 2 of these for today, and they're 50 cents for each piece. I have $2 invested, and I thought they were pretty.
Well, that's a bargain.
It is pretty.
I'll drink my tea in that now.
That's fine. Thank you for sharing, Jamie.
Martha,
Yeah, Goodwill is a good place to shop. Yes.
Martha, if you have time for one more memory about teacups.
Yes.
Yesterday, my husband and I were married, was our anniversary, so we celebrated 38 years yesterday. This teacup was from our everyday china. For some reason, I just decided to pull it out. I just have 2 cup and saucers left. Everything else has been broken down through the years, but I treasure this one. And the other one that I pulled out was from our more formal set. None of these are broken because we barely use them. Anyway, 38 years, we have these memories.
Okay. Thank you, Pat. That's a wonderful memory. 38 years, and congratulations on your 38th anniversary. Wonderful. And lots of good memories from both of those cups, but more from that everyday china that you did use every day.
Yes.
Yeah, we get this good china, fancy china, and we put it back and don't use it. Ladies, we really need to get it out and use it. Bring back those good memories of times past. Anyone else have a teacup you'd like to share?
Share mine.
Okay.
So whenever I was going in and choosing, I'm the same thing. I drink mainly out of mugs. And my son and I fight over this one mug that says it takes bacon to make me get out of bed. But since he had already used that one today, I couldn't choose that one. But my aunt passed away 2 years ago. And as we were going through, one of her things in her kitchen, one whole cabinet was mugs, because everybody would give her mugs, or she collected mugs. She loved the Far Side. You could tell what her interests were. You could tell what her interests were through those mugs. And so one of the mugs I chose was the Hornet. She lived down in Charlotte and had tickets, and this was from the 1993 NBA Finals, whenever they were in there. So this is, a collector's item. My son told me as he walked through a few minutes ago, that mug's going with me when I leave this house.
Interesting.
And then the other mug that I chose, my daughter did an internship through the church up in DC and stayed at the United Methodist building and everything there. And we went up to see her one weekend, and she was able to score us tickets to the newly opened African American Museum that's up there. And because when I said that we were coming, I said that was the one place that I wanted to make sure that she took us to, that we went to and everything. And she said, you can't get tickets there. And when I got online, it was a year and a half, this was going to be in May and it was going to be October of the next year were the first openings, but she was able to score us tickets to go through there. So I definitely bought me a mug because now I'm starting the tradition that my aunt had, where you look in my cabinet and you can see what my interests are based on the mugs that I keep.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. And Kim has asked a question about mugs. Could there be a problem with lid? Many years ago, yes, there could have been. If you have an old mug that you're not really sure about, you may want to get a lid testing kit. I believe these are available at hardware stores, or you can order online, and just check and see if that mug does have a high amount of lid. Someone else has mentioned my mug is not for the microwave. It was made before microwaves existed. Yes, that might be a good thing to investigate. I remember when I was staying at Brooks Howell for one of our executive committee meetings, I took a mug out of their cabinet, put some water in it, and put it in the microwave to heat it. And when I took that out, it just literally burned my hand. It was so hot. So that, I would say, if it's absorbing the microwaves like that, probably it had lead in it. That might be an easy way to check. If you put a regular cup that doesn't have lid in the microwave, it should not get extremely hot. It will get warm, but not extremely hot. But that would be another quick way you could check and see if it's a source of lid.
I have a mug. It seems I didn't realize I had chosen it. It's from the Sill at Lake Junaluska. So it just seems, even though we can't be there, we got a piece of Lake Junaluska with us.
There you go.
That's a good idea. Yes, they did make a lot of pottery from the silt there, just like similar to this one that I had from the Dead Sea, made from that silt. It gives you a historical feeling and a feeling that you're close back to Lake Junaluska. Barbara has commented that about the sharing the gospel using a tea bag. If you Google tea bag gospel, it's a good little devotion that you can use. There also is a teacup devotion. If you Google teacup devotion, I believe, an interesting little thing that you can share about a teacup and how it was made and how God makes and molds us just like he was doing that teacup. Well, ladies, I hope you've enjoyed making your tea and drinking it. Hope you will remember to do this again in the future. It will be beneficial to you. And if there are no other questions, we will close this session.
Oh, Martha, I'm just coming, I want to share my teacup. Like I said, I don't do tea bags, but I do buy tea and I do drink it warm. But this, if anybody can see it, this goes way back. It's let me show you. It went through my grandmother, these kind of, I have the whole set that my grandmother had, my mom kept it, and I kept it down that my mom's gone, but it's these old, this is the old timey teacups. This is a little saucer. Then there's another saucer, but this takes me back to my grandmother, and that's why I always kept it. But every now and then I will take this out and put my little bit of tea in and put it in the microwave and warm it. I sit on the front porch, like in the mornings before I go to work, and there's a lot of things that go through my mind. Just looking around at God's creation, how good he is. He's grateful, and I'm blessed every morning. I just wake up and just tell him thank you, because there's a lot of people that don't wake up. So I'm grateful and I'm thankful for what the Lord has blessed me with.
Thank you, Jan. I think that's a good way to end this session with your beautiful memory and sharing there of your teacup.
Yes,
and you were already doing the tea mindfully. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And thank you, Martha, from all of us for just an incredible session.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Enjoy your tea sipping.
Join us this afternoon, 1:15 for the jazzercise with Donna, and then 2 o'clock workshops. So enjoy.